Hello, good day to you. It's Talkin really, and today we're going to have a talk about depression. Now, it's not a subject matter that's easy to talk about, and if you're a bloke, then you tend to do what blokes do, and that is keep it to yourself. If you've got any problems, you keep them to yourself. You don't share them with anybody. And when you do share them, there's a little bit of less sympathy for you. It's like pull yourself together, it can't be that bad, etc., etc., etc. I have yet to see somebody who gets the response that they're looking for, which is, okay, mate, we'll help you out. What's your problem? From my perspective, and I'm a very strong person internally, and I don't let things get me down. However, there has been occasions in my life where, despite being very resilient and thinking to myself, I'm okay, there have been times when I've got to rock bottom, and I can name them on one hand. For me personally, you may be different. You may have times when a small thing will trigger you off and you will go into a deep depression. Depression is about how you feel. It's a feeling of loss. It's a feeling of not being in control, not being able to find a way out of your dilemma, whatever dilemma that is. Now, if I mention that my deep depression was shortly after having my back surgery done in 2014. Up until then, I'd had the usual, things happen to me. It happens, you get over it, you move on. For example, going through a divorce. Things happen, you lose your job, you have money worries, relationship problems. It can be triggered by your environment. You can have depression after having a baby, although I'm not in that category. Unfortunately, I can't. If I did, I would be worth $1 million. And yes, so there are all sorts of circumstances for all sorts of people, and we're all different. In my case, it was shortly after having the prospect of never walking again. Having come through my life from a very young age, in a wheelchair, getting out of the wheelchair, age 8 or 9, being able to walk around, and then losing my ability to have any sort of life walking around, being reliant on a wheelchair, or in my case later on relying on walking aids and scooters. But up until that point, I was fairly mobile, unable to walk around unaided, and it was a big shock. And also the fact is that I had no plans to be giving up work, and I had a very good business. I was doing really well, and of course all of that went down the pan because I wasn't able to physically perform my job. And when you're self-employed, you do rely on, obviously you're not getting sick pay. In the end, it was a case of I had to bite the bullet and cut down on everything, including money. But being depressed, that feeling of loss, that feeling of not finding a route out, not being able to cope with life, not wishing to be here anymore, not wishing you'll feel you'll be better off if you're dead, feeling like in the morning you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to face people, you don't want to meet people, you don't want to talk to people. Of course, in my job, that was quite difficult because I'm customer orientated. I deal with teaching people. So, of course, it was very difficult for me to go to a class and be bubbly and lively and enthusiastic And of course, this did not help keep my customers. They saw, I don't know what they saw, but they didn't see me as my normal everyday self. I was withdrawn, not interested. I couldn't give a shit about anybody or anything. And of course, that was all to do with being depressed from the news of probably never walking again. The operation was the cause of it. I had nearly 2 years of declining health, and of course the realisation that if I did have the operation, that hopefully it would get me back on my feet, and I planned for 3 months off. After having the operation, finding out that I was more damaged than not, and it would be 6 months to 12 months to 18 months before I could even function again, knowing full well that if I left it 18 months, my business would be finally gone. There would be no customers left. Luckily, I had planned for 3 months, and I had cover for 3 months. So when I did return back in September, after 3 months, I wasn't ready. I was still suffering the loss of my legs, and I was attending classes, having to do my classes sitting down and struggling to walk. It is a thing that we don't talk about. It's a thing that has a stigma. Oh, you're depressed. Oh, you're only feeling, put yourself together. You'll be all right tomorrow. Even though you're smiling and looking happy and saying, yeah, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're not okay. You're not happy. And you really don't want to be there. So I know, I've been there. I've done it. And it's not a good place to be. My experience of going to the GP was the first step. Now, I find it very difficult I'm not a GP, so telling a GP that, I think I'm depressed, it's like, well, how do you tell somebody that you're depressed? How do you know that you're depressed? Well, luckily there's a whole test that you could do, and they will put you through it and see actually what you score. And I scored quite badly on that, in a confirmation way that I was depressed. I wasn't making it up. It wasn't something that was just happening. It was a real thing. And of course, immediately they were concerned, and I was suggested that I should do some CBD, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, which for me was a godsend. It worked. I had 3 months of that, I think, and it was perfect. It was a solution to me. Being very holistic, I wasn't really interested in taking drugs, so antidepressants weren't really my thing, and I didn't bother with that route. But I know that some people do find them helpful. I don't think that we should rely on them. I think we should deal with the issues that we have and try and overcome those issues. My issues were about my mobility and my ability to function again and to be able to work normally in my job, which strangely enough I did manage to focus on during my CBT sessions, which is they gave me focus on being very much looking at how I worked, how I felt when I was doing work, and sooner or later I became aware of my own solutions, which were to commence with exercising my body so that I could get functional. And this is something I set my mind to. Maybe everybody's different, but maybe just me, that I could do that. I could set myself up and say that I was going to do it, and I went ahead and did it. and I exercised, and I was doing sit-ups, I was doing stand-ups, I was doing one-legged stands. I was doing many sorts of exercises that had been recommended by the physiotherapist in the hospital that I had ignored, and because of my depression I just could not be bothered to do. So while I was there, I was getting worse and worse and worse physically, until I put my mind to it and decided that I would make a change. And of course, that's what happened. I made a change. Luckily for me, the CBD and everything else was successful. And I was able to become a normal functioning person again. Although just lately, within the last 2 years or so, it has got worse as far as dropping down into a minor feeling of depression, although never as bad as what it was, because I do remember how it was feeling, and I'm stopping myself from getting down that far. But it is little things that keep on happening to you that build up. It's like a compound hammering that you get, so things hit you on the head and they knock you down. You know, it's little things that build up, and then they just build up to a point where there's no outlet. So if you are affected by any of this, then please do share down below, and of course try and get some help if you can, because there are people out there who are professionals who can help you. And please don't keep it to yourself. It's not a good thing to do. Try and have a friend or a relative or somebody or a professional that you can talk to tell them how you feel. And but please remember, don't keep it to yourself. It's not a good thing to do. And always remember that there are people who are in a similar boat, including me at one time in my life. So a very strong person, but you can also suffer from depression. Have a good day, and bye for now.